Okay, we're recording, yes.
Enough?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now, we talked about perspective, and we talked about foreshortening. I'm going to continue the foreshortening, and I'm going to give you a few other tips on how to make shapes actually appear as though they're coming out of the painting or out of the drawing. What I want you to remember is essentially SEV, okay? Just imagine that I'm Russian and my name is Severina. So SEV, what does this mean? Shape, edge, and value. I'm going to do a demo where I'll show you how I use all three of these to get objects appear to be, so that the foreshortening is convincing and the object or a hand or arm appears to be coming out of the paper. Okay, with shapes, again we covered that. So with foreshortening, big shapes come forward, small shapes recede. Okay? With edge, hard edges come forward, and we talked about that in the painting, and soft edges recede. And the other thing I'm going to add, we're going to talk more about edge and line next week, but the other thing I'm going to add from our value talk lessons last week is that we can make things come forward and recede with values. So light values come forward, and dark values are going to recede. And we could play games with the cast shadow to essentially make things essentially pop out of the painting. Okay, so before I do the demonstration, let me just essentially talk a little bit more about the cast shadow and making things come out of the plane of the picture. Okay, let me show you two examples of something called trompe-l'oeil. Okay, what's trompe-l'oeil? Trompe-l'oeil has been around for 300 or 400 years, and it means to fool the eye. This is where you have a very shallow field of vision. So I have something pasted against a piece of plywood. In this case, it's my buddy Stimpy. In the other case, it's actually a drawing that I'm essentially making you believe that the figure's actually coming off the drawing, and it all has to do with the cast shadow. Okay, so in trompe-l'oeil, where the object appears to come off the plane of it's very shallow depth of field, and the object appears to come off the plane of the picture, trompe-l'oeil means to fool the eye. It all has to do with the cast shadow. And I'm going to do a demonstration where I use a cast shadow on a figure to actually get the arm to come forward, in addition to the shapes and the edges. Okay, so let me do that now, and then we will go into the next sequence of drawings. Okay, so remember SEV, S-E-V. Shape, edge, value. All right. Now I'm going to try and do a demonstration where I summarize I put everything into and then we're going to actually have Lori do this pose. But let's assume that I have a line of action. I have a seated model, and it's basically a 3/4 view, and I'll divide that down in a minute. And the model has one leg here and one leg back here, line of action for the shoulders, line of action for the hips, and the arm is actually coming down and resting on this knee, and this other arm is just coming down to the side. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, because this is a 3/4 pose, is I'm going to actually draw a center line all the way down the figure, dividing it in two. And what I'm trying to show you is that the shapes, as you turn away from, the model turns away from you, that the shape is foreshortened on the back side. You can see it on the face. Put the nose in just so I can emphasize that. It makes the female, so I'm going to put breasts on it. And again, the breasts, one breast that's facing towards me is going to appear bigger than the one that's receding. And the back arm. Okay, notice that I'm making this hand smaller than the hand that's actually coming out of the plane of the picture. Okay, let me put a few more things in this. Okay, this back leg again, the arm that's coming out of the plane of the picture, the forearm I can barely see, it's a compressed shape. And again, my lighting is coming from the left and from above. And I could, by putting some of these back shapes in shadow, I actually make them recede. Okay, I can now put a cast shadow that this arm would be casting across the breast and part of the upper body to actually make this arm come out of the plane of the picture. The forearm, I'm going to just very vaguely put it in because it's a compressed shape and severely foreshortened. The hand that's coming forward, that's on the knee, put a thumb and then put shape in for the fingers. This hand has to be bigger than the hand that's essentially sort of straddling and resting across the legs back here. And again, this foot, the foot that's coming out would have to be bigger than the foot that's basically in the, that's essentially in the back plane. Okay, now, again, the thigh here is severely foreshortened. So I got sort of a foreshortened shape. I go into the knee, I go into the calf, and if the calf is slightly folded under, again, it's going to be in shadow. And then go into the foot. And again, this shape would have to be bigger than that one. Now, I could actually punch this up. I've actually made things recede with shadows. I've made shapes that come forward bigger. I put a cast shadow in to try and make, from this arm, try and pop out like a trompe-l'oeil effect. And I could actually do some things with edges now. If I go back in, I can actually use hard edges to make, for instance, I want this hand to come out, even though there aren't, in reality, the edges on the hand aren't all hard. I'll make these edges very hard relative to this back hand. And again, the knee, which I want to come out, I can put some hard edges on that and make it come out relative to essentially the knee on this side. And then I can do the same thing with the shoulder blade here relative to the shoulder blade that's receding in space. Okay. Now there's one other thing I want to show you, then I'll basically let you guys draw. This was essentially a very quick demonstration. Let me actually show you the same thing in some finished drawings. Okay, now this is the same model. Okay, in one case, there's very little foreshortening. Most of the foreshortening is the arm that's in the back of the head, and there's a little bit of foreshortening in the left leg. The second drawing, there's a lot of foreshortening. Both thighs, the upper legs are foreshortened. It's a shape, and you've noticed that I made it vague, and I put it mostly in shadow to make the calves, the lower part of the legs, come forward. I've actually put a dark cast shadow under one of the legs to make it, first of all, seat on the platform that the model's on, but also to make it come forward. Notice again here, I put a lot of hard edges and detail on the hand that comes forward relative to the hand that's behind. And again, this whole arm is foreshortened. And if you looked at it from just the shape point of view, and again, the shapes are right, but again, they're all compressed relative to the arm that's outstretched, the back arm that's outstretched, because it has no foreshortening. So again, a lot of people, when they look at this, would say, oh, well, the arm has to be longer, because they're still thinking in terms of the arm being not compressed when it's foreshortened. Okay. So again, you can see, I've had cast shadows, and you can actually see I put a cast shadow behind the model to make the whole model's body come out. There's a cast shadow again on the left breast to make it come out slightly. So I'm playing all these tricks using shape, edge, and value to again give you the illusion of three-dimensionality and basically help with the foreshortening. Make the foreshortening read as foreshortening. Notice you notice I don't have any hard edges on the back arm that's severely foreshortened, the forearm that's foreshortened here. If I put hard edges on this thing, and there could be some hard edges because there is bone in that arm, it would pop out. It wouldn't read right. It would make you believe that I'd drawn the wrong shape, put the wrong shape down. It has to recede. And to make it recede, I'm using shading, a little bit of shading, and making soft edges. Okay, got it.